Hello everybody, I'm Peter the Book Lover here, and in this video I like to talk about my top 100 favorite books. This is from 30 to 21, and I have a lot of fantastic books that I want to talk about here. So let's talk about them. Hello everybody, I am Peter the Book Lover, and I like to read a lot of books, and I like to collect books, and I finally put together my list of my top 100 favorite books. And I got a lot of fantastic books that I'm going to talk about here. These books are wonderful, and I love them a lot. Okay, before I get into the books, though, I want to thank everybody for being here, my cats, and the audience. You're wonderful for being here. I really love the fact that you're giving me your time. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you, and I love you. Thank you. Okay, so the first book that I'm going to talk about is number 30, and that is written by James Swanson, and this was from 2009, and this is based on a true story. This is Chasing Lincoln's Killer, and what this book is about is the hunting down of James Wilkes Booth. That's the guy that assassinated Abraham Lincoln. Now, this is actually an abridged version of a book called Manhunt, and I haven't read the story Manhunt yet, but I'm sure that once I read Manhunt, that will be on this list instead of this book. But this was incredible. I really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. Great action. A lot of interesting facts in this, and I really loved it a lot. So I highly recommend this book a lot. And if you give it a shot, I'm pretty sure you're going to enjoy this. And this is Rocket. He's a little crazy. I love him to death, though. Okay, number 29 is a book that was written in 1983. This was written by one of my favorite authors, Roald Dahl, and this is the book called The Witches. And the thing about this is that I watched the movie a long time ago. This movie was really incredible, and I loved it a lot. And I watched it several times before I got a chance to read the book. And when I finally got a chance to read the book, I was really impressed with this. As a matter of fact, for the longest time, this was my favorite book. This was an incredible story. I love it. And it's actually kind of terrifying. I mean, these children actually wind up running into a witches' convention at this hotel they're staying at. And some crazy things happen in this book. I really love this book, especially the grandmother. In this book, there's a grandmother that's an amazing character. I really think she's really cool, and I love this story a lot. The Witches by Roald Dahl is number 29, and I highly recommend it. Okay, the next one up is from 1945, written by George Orwell, and this is the classic Animal Farm. And this is a story about some animals that take over the farm, and they wind up bringing their own politics in. And it's a lot based off of Stalin. But at the same time, this is written like a fairy tale because it's set on animals, but it's incredible. And it's educational. It's really interesting to read this book on how things get twisted around and how after time they actually change the politics and the rules get changed by these pigs that take over. I really love this book. It is incredible. And the thing about this book, it's very short. It won't take you a long time to read, but man, it is really amazing. Okay, now we're going to go to number 27. Now, this is another short book. This one was written in 1938, written by John W. Campbell, Jr., and this is the story called Who Goes There? Now, this is based off of the movie The Thing, and this is a lot like the movie The Thing with Kurt Russell, directed by John Carpenter, opposed to The Thing from Another World, where it was the first movie from this book, and this is loosely based, but this book really matches the movie The Thing, and this is a short book, but this is an incredible book. I find it gripping, and the whole thing is I haven't read this book. Like, I don't have a physical copy of this book. This is the only book on here that actually got on this list that is an audiobook that I've experienced. And it was an incredible audiobook. As a matter of fact, the audiobook was a little over, it was like 3 hours, and it was amazing. I really highly recommend this. Who Goes There is a hell of a good time. It's scary too. Okay, the next one that I'm going to talk about is number 26. This is written by H.G. Wells, and this is from 1895. And this is an incredible story. This is called The Time Machine. And this is the story about a guy that invents a time machine, and he goes into the future. And he sees a lot of incredible things in the future. And the world that you go to is really incredible. There's a movie that's based off of this that is really good. I love the Morlocks. The Morlocks are incredible characters that you meet in the future. And it is a great story. I highly recommend it. And it's not a long time. It won't take you a long time to read this. But this is a very entertaining book. I love it. The Time Machine. Give it a thumbs up. Okay, number 25 is a book that was written in 1976 by David Sweltzer. And this is a horror book called The Omen. And this is the story about the devil having a son, and he actually puts this son with this political family. I believe he is, I forgot what position he is, but he's high up, has a high up government position, and they raise this kid, and this kid is actually the son of the devil. And it's a pretty creepy story. It's a creepy movie. I love the movie. I love the book. The book blew me away. I really love it. And I recommend the movie or the book. It's amazing. The Omen by David Sweltzer is definitely a fantastic book. Okay, the next book that I'm going to talk about is number 24. Now, this isn't really one story. This is a collection of stories. But my favorite story is The Black Cat. And that was written in 1843. The same year he did another fantastic story, A Telltale Heart. Plus, The Raven is an incredible thing. This is the best of Edgar Allan Poe. And any collection of Edgar Allan Poe is definitely worth your time. This author is amazing. I really think that his poetry and his stories are amazing. They're short, but they really pack a punch. And he had a style that was really amazing. I really love Edgar Allan Poe very much, and I highly recommend any collection of his stories. The best of Edgar Allan Poe is number 24. Okay, number 23. This is another horror book. I really love this one. This one is written by the master of horror, Stephen King, and this is from 1983, and this is the classic Pet Sematary. And this book is actually a little bit too much for some people because this is pretty crazy. This is a story to where if your pet dies, you could take it to this cemetery, bury it, and your pet will come back to life. And it's not the same. And then you got to question yourself, if a family member of yours dies, would you take it to the pet cemetery and bury your family member and have the person come back? Well, we find out about this in this story, and I really love this. This is incredible. There's a couple movies based off of this story, and I really love them both. I love the remake of Pet Sematary, and I love the original of Pet Sematary. Really incredible stuff. I loved it. Pet Sematary by Stephen King is number 23, and I highly recommend it. Although there's been some people that I've seen that read this that weren't really impressed with it. So each man his own, but I love Pet Sematary, and a lot of other people do too. Okay, the next one that I'm going to talk about is number 22. It is written by H.G. Wells, and this is The Invisible Man. Now, the thing about it, when I read this book, I was expecting The Time Machine not to be surpassed. And I was really amazed when I read this book that I actually had a lot more fun with this book than I did with The Time Machine. And it's the basic story about a guy that actually turns himself invisible by chemicals, or I forgot how he becomes invisible, but actually it's how the people deal with him being invisible. And I've also seen this movie, and this movie is really cool. It is kind of like a Three Stooges episode because, he's in a room with people moving stuff, and they see stuff floating around, and they're amazed by it. It's a really incredible movie, and I really love this story. It really surprised me because I didn't expect it to be as good as The Time Machine, because The Time Machine is incredible, but I enjoyed this a little bit more than The Time Machine, and I love it. So, The Invisible Man by H.G. Wells, that is number 22. Now, number 21 is a book written by Robert Bloch, and this was from 1959, and this is based off of a fantastic movie. This is Psycho, and I really like the movie Psycho. For the longest time, I didn't think it was, I would say that it was a thriller, not really a horror movie, but I gotta change my mind on that, and I really think this is a great horror movie. But when you read the book is a little bit more like a horror movie, and it's a little bit more terrifying than that movie of Psycho. This was incredible. I loved it. I went to I didn't have a copy of this, so I had to go to the library and read this, and I just had a blast reading this. This really drew me in, and I loved it very much. I do plan on reading more books of the Psycho series that he has written. It's a shame we have part 3 here, but I want to read part 2. And the movie part 2 is amazing. I really love the movie of Psycho part 2. It's great. And Psycho's number 21. That is the last book that I'm going to talk about in this episode. And there you go. I've got 2 more videos to make of my top 100 favorite books. And so this is from 30 to 21. And these are a lot of great books. I enjoyed talking about them. Hopefully that you enjoyed listening to me talk about them. I really appreciate the audience being here. You're fantastic. If you agree with me and you like this video, give me a thumbs up. I really appreciate your thumbs up. Every thumbs up is like a gem to me. And if you can, let me know what you think in the comments. I'm all ears. I'm ready to hear anybody. And I also respond to you. I'm not just going to ignore the comments. And if you haven't subscribed, I would really love it if you subscribe to my channel. I make videos all the time. We're going into 2025, and I have plans on making a lot of videos in the future. So come back around and check those out. And that's about it. I'm Peter the Book Lover, and I really want to thank you for being here. And I hope to see you on the next video.